La la la.
Hey!
Oh, my mouth is filled with biscuits. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another beautiful day and another biscotti conversation with my wonderful guest, Greg Rushton. He is a writer, author. He is a circus enthusiast of acrobatics, almost. But hand acrobatics. Hand acrobatics.
I cannot handstand at all.
Oh, I thought I'd seen you attempt it before.
No, my center of gravity far too low. But it is almost the same thing, throwing balls in the air and catching them again.
Oh, magnificent. Well, Greg and I have been friends for, how long now? 6 years?
We were talking about this earlier, weren't we? I was 19, 6 years-ish, 2013.
Wow.
Youthful days in first year of uni.
The, what was this? I quite fancy coffee. Should we go coffee first?
Sure, yeah. Let's be responsible in our drinking. Ish.
Oh, I've got my mug as well. Fantastic. Guests first.
Thank you.
The lovely noise that is as well. We're going to have some theme music, coming on theme music, but I unfortunately neglected my music. I thought us doing Rage Against the Machine would be a far more hilarious way to start the podcast. So.
I feel like we could just make that the intro anyway all the time.
Just us doing that, yeah.
Yeah, or you and whatever guest doing a recognizable song, and then the first minute of the podcast or whatever is just talking about that song or talking about how you really fucked it up. And
it has to be Rage Against the Machine.
Every time.
It doesn't have to be the same song, but just some
Or you could just split up. You could do their entire catalog, split into 20-second segments, just by making them the intro to your podcast. I think that's fair use. I don't think you would get what's the phrase, DMCA'd for that. But
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think you'd be all right. It's an interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I don't know. So we have so those of you who are listening, we have a selection of meats, which is all sorts.
I can't really show on the camera. A fine spread has been laid out before us.
We got hot wings. We have Polish sausage. We have 3 other kinds of variations of Polish sausage as well. We've got dips for our wings. We have crackers for our blue cheese. Nice smelly one. It's a Sainsbury's classic, but shout out to said brand.
A true classic.
Mm-hmm. And you saw me or heard me smashing a biscuit earlier at the beginning of the song. So as a result, that's it. Thank you so much, Greg. Magnificent co-hosting. I almost don't really have guests on here on Biscotti Conversations. I think it's like the guests that make the program written. So I think, in terms of the soup, I am merely the broth, and you are the whatever the protein.
You are the cream of chicken, and I am the little skinny bits of chicken floating around
in its most basest form, probably.
Well, we were talking earlier about you having some kind of an assistant, weren't we? Because most podcasts that I've seen, even if it's just one host, there's a floating ghost behind the camera, operating, clicking buttons, sliding sliders, and knobbing knobs to
young Jamies of this world. Yeah,
exactly.
I would love a wizard behind the curtain, but at the moment it's me. I am my own wizard. The better to say it all. It's really fun. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of prep and whatnot that does go along with getting it, creating a podcast. But that is only because it is you get out what you put into it. If you put in as much effort as one can muster, and then you improve on that effort the next time, then you're only going to get better. But that's kind of universally true, I find, for most tasks of any kind.
I think it's the same. Yeah, whatever you're doing. I've always found, even when I've worked menial jobs that I don't care about, or in school when you just don't care, but you're maybe chasing the grades and you want to do well, even though everybody, your parents know, the teachers know, it doesn't really matter to your life. You put the effort in anyway, because it's like flexing, training a muscle. I can't remember. It's been variously stated by a lot of people that, keeping your brain healthy is like training a muscle and going to the gym, and it will atrophy if you don't look after it. And that's specific to new things that you're doing, not just your brain as a whole. So as a podcaster, you're like, first time you didn't have a nice selection of cold meats and unaffiliated, royalty-free, nondescript beverages. But now you do, and tomorrow, who knows, you'll have a team of podcasters, I guess.
Well, Ben was from the previous podcast, who's a drummer in the band that I'm in. He brought with him an extra microphone, so I can now have an additional podcaster, but I just need to get the setup correct now. I need another power box because it doesn't come with one, so I need an external.
Oh, does that mean you have 3 in total?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I can just like add and like not have people like as many times or as many not times.
Because having multiple guests as well, that's definitely a direction you can go.
Oh yeah, dude! I so badly want to do that. Like, we want to get Dave on for the Christmas special because he's coming back home from Mexico. Yeah, he's coming back home from Mexico, and like everybody can't wait to have Dave on. So that'd be great.
You can he can shill his book. You can talk about his travels. That'll be. What?
I literally can't wait. It's gonna be so dope.
How long has he been over there now?
Oh God, I have no idea. He's been traveling all over the place though as well. He's also been to like Colombia and Bogota, and is explaining to me about coffee and things like that. I should probably like leave a lot of this for that.
That's true. I don't want to steal his material.
Yeah, well, you and I have never any material. You and I could talk. Cows come home. Cows have. Cows go to sleep, they wake up, having the morning coffee. We're still up making a podcast.
Generations of cows move on. They evolve from the
previous generation of cows. There's a whole new generation of mammals is formed from bacterial evolution.
By the time we've finished podcasting, they'll have been selectively bred till you have like a poodle cow and all the varieties like we have with
the cat
miniature cows in handbags of rich women in Hollywood.
Various different beasts, like just like some like Hieronymus Bosch type incarnations. I have like this theory that Hieronymus Bosch potentially like essentially without knowing it almost like made up every like don't they have in Hindu, don't they have a million gods? Isn't there a million?
I'm not sure they're all named. I think that's more of it's a concept. Like there's a book I read by Arthur C. Clarke, or a short story called The 9 Billion Names of God, and that's about, I don't think it was Hindu, it's like a sort of Zen monastery in a fictional future, but where they say that God has infinite names, but only one of them is the correct one. If you can just speak the name of God, then the universe ends, and it's a bit like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Game over and level 2 comes up. I think that was from that. But I don't think they're all separate gods. It's like God is not just the universe, it's also this and all the specific objects from the universe, and so it's infinite, and also it's the one great summation of everything as well. But they do have a lot of named gods and funny wacky animal hybrids. It's like
there's so many of those, like the whole human animal hybrid. I love that you touched on that, because that is something that I'd like.
Well, that's Egyptian as well. Greek, was it the Minotaur? He's kind of half man, half bull.
Who's the person who went after the Minotaur in the maze?
It's not Jason. He was with the golden fleece and everything.
And his Argonauts. Shout out to Ray Harryhausen in the afterworld. Ray Harryhausen did the all of the different. You've seen Jason and the Argonauts, haven't you?
The really old one, yeah. I don't know
the fight skeletons and stuff.
Oh yeah, and they're like really poor animation.
Stop motion, yeah.
I love that.
Well, Ray Harryhausen is the guy that did like all of those stop animation.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, sorry, continue. Like we were talking about Greek.
I'm still trying to. I'm racking my brain to remember what the Minotaur guy is called.
Oh yeah, the gentleman that goes into the maze
because he's following the string because he wants to marry the king's daughter, but she was pledged to the Minotaur or something stupid because of a curse. I can't remember. I tried reading some of the original Greek stories, like the Iliad and the other one, the Odyssey, but when you see an interpretation these days, like I used to have them on cassette tape when I was a kid, all the Greek legends, and they're such good stories. They're really easy to follow. I used to know all the names. And then you try and read the originals, and it's like trying to read Chaucer or something in English, and it's just the gods are in the conversation, but they're also not, and it skips around all in time everywhere, and the characters are speaking from their future selves, and it's a confusing experience. So I kind of gave up on that. My knowledge is a bit limited.
I know what you mean. A very good abridged version of that is Robert Graves. Robert Graves does a really good discussions about Greek myths and legends and whatnot.
Absolutely no.
He was his friends with Siegfried Sassoon, and he was a bit of an arse, apparently.
I know that, but I don't know why.
Siegfried Sassoon writes really well about other people because his diaries are so beautifully interpreted.
How so is he a bit of an arse?
Well, he's just one of these people who's incredibly well gifted mentally, apparently, but maybe a bit acidic within conversation.
Okay.
And that can, for quite a few people, I reckon, be quite difficult to put up with in the long run.
A little bit like the old-timey equivalent of South Park's Smug Clouds, the intellectuals of back in the day.
Yeah, a lot like that.
I felt like it's a lot of the figures that we look back on now, the eccentric ones, they probably, especially I know more about writers because I've studied it more, but like people like Oscar Wilde, everybody loves him, his quotes and his books, and he's so witty. But I always have thought, just if I met Oscar Wilde in a conversation and I hadn't read his books, I'd probably just think he was a prat.
Yeah,
a very clever prat.
I mean, even his sayings as well, quite a few of them are quite defensively overly introverted in ways, because of that.
And it's like it's an act.
I mean, he's obviously very vilified within his time, isn't he? But at the same time, he has. Yeah, he does have that, the snarl back kind of, that a man walked past my house the other day, I'm so glad.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite ones of Oscar Wilde. But yeah, he's excellent. I like but yeah, going back to what we were saying, that Robert Graves is very good for studying mythical animals, sort of Greek myths mainly.
Yeah.
And their collaboration of gods and whatnot. He's very good at consolidating information from those times. I'm trying to think who the other person is. Stephen Fry. I haven't read either of his volumes, but he's done his second one about
the famous Stephen Fry.
Yes, yeah, the Stephen Fry. Yeah, he's written about the second one's called. No, I think the first one's called Heroes, and the second one's called Mythos, and they are.
I've heard of Mythos.
They're his works. He's actually doing a tour. I think he might be still going, and he's just going out reading his book.
Yeah,
and it's all about kind of his same sort of premise as Robert Graves a bit, but he reads a lot. He's a bit more focused in his kind of in his microscope on the actual situation of those animals. That's probably another quite good place to go and seek knowledge. I love looking at famous people's book collections.
Yeah, it's a good guide as to what to read. You think about, who do I like to listen to? What did they read?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like artist choice, type stuff is
stuff exactly.
I love going for. Flea's really good if you want to go for I discovered Miles Davis properly and truly, I think, through Flea from the Chili Peppers, because I found an article when he was quoted saying that Kind of Blue is the best jazz album ever written. So I immediately went out and got a vinyl copy of it, and I've never looked back since. It's my favorite thing. But it's Robert. Sorry, not Robert Graves.
We were on Stephen Fry, and then.
Yeah, that was it. Famous people's book collection. Yeah. So Beatrix Potter's is very good. I remember being at her house a few years ago, and she has a.
Oh, that's in Sussex, isn't it? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
That is further up north. That's the Lake District.
I'm thinking of someone else.
Are you thinking of Jane Austen?
Possibly. There's one in Eastbourne where I live. I can't remember it.
There's loads of people there from down here as well that have stopped through in various places as well. You could probably sit here and just talk about that for the rest of the podcast. Probably,
all the history packed into this small island. But sorry, I interrupted you talking about a specific author that you happened to have. Her book collection.
Yes, Beatrix Potter's book collection was very good, and it was rather similar, I found, in quite a few of its older volumes, especially, or larger collections. It's closer to T. Lawrence, which I shouldn't really touch on too much, because otherwise I'll go into a massive diatribe about Lawrence.
So quoting me some.
No, he Clouds Hill. He had I wrote it all down on my phone, so I wouldn't have. I felt like the guy from the Last Crusade. I wrote it down in my diary, so I wouldn't have to remember.
Oh god. Sean Connery.
I love Sean Connery.
You know when an accent just makes somebody quotable? Like we were talking about Bill Burr earlier, the comedian, and his accent is just you just want to say things in his accent no matter what it is. Or Dave Chappelle or anyone with like a classic voice. You know, everybody wants to do Morgan Freeman. Sean Connery is definitely one of those people.
And now on this day, 5 years ago, it was said that Andy was a good man, but he also had troubles. Oh, dude, yeah. Morgan Freeman is probably one of my favorite ones to do.
Have you seen the new voice imitating technology that everybody sort of lost their mind about recently?
No.
It's using like neural networks and things that I know the words for but don't understand, but some sort of very modern machine learning computing techniques to take somebody who's got a lot of material of their voice out there, break it down, analyze it, take each syllable in each word and how they phrase and intonate things, and to recreate it as a text-to-speech engine. So they've done it now with Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and I think a few other people. But you can just type something and hear them say it, and it's really scary in a way, but also really incredible. But it also means you can now have, maybe in a few years when they've done all the celebrities, you'll be able to have Morgan Freeman just say whatever you want, or Arnold Schwarzenegger or whoever it is. You can just put words in their mouth.
Yeah,
on a website.
I think another friend of mine, Jordan, who you know reasonably quite well.
I'm aware of doing this.
He's coming. Yeah, he's
future guest
coming on
it's
here.
gonna be good.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't wait for it. Sorry, I've been absolutely on my phone.
I know there's antisocial behavior.
This is terrible. For
quite
me.
unexpected.
I have found it though.
You know,
the influence of the Crusades on European military architecture to the end of the 12th century is one of his books. And
that's the title, damn.
Yeah, General Maurice Dussas is Mesrevirez.
I don't know what that means.
Is another book of his. Yeah. Oh well. Sorry, a bit squiffy for the morning. Still.
Just entire raw slices of bacon we have here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, dude, get on there.
I'm
Yeah, no, I wrote down a few of his books. I do have a list somewhere. I think I took a picture of it because there's a guy at the exhibit that handed me a whole booklet of all of like somebody had written down a whole list of every book that he had in his library downstairs. It was quite extensive.
People want to know that as well. Like you could probably sell that list.
That's where his bed was as well. Was in his library, and then he had a special chair that he would sit in. That he had a little table that folded over on top of it, and he would just sit there with his book. He had a candle, and then he would eat in his chair, and it was like a kind of like a church level oak old school wooden chair. It didn't look particularly comfortable, but
that was kind of the attitude back in the day, wasn't it? Reading is serious. You have to be uncomfortable while you do it.
I swear that people were like far more serious.
You can't indulge in anything. You might get gout.
Well, I really did indulge a wee bit. I want to try a bit of this cheese.
Oh yeah, you indulge in things, but you kind of deny yourself a certain piece of the enjoyment of it, and sort of, I don't know. I feel like that was not everybody, obviously, the old decadence and everything, but some people.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think a really good call for that is somebody like Winston Churchill.
Yeah, he knew how to enjoy himself.
Like 2 roast dinners a day, like 5 cigars a day, and 2 bottles of Chateau Petrus, I think.
It's a funny thing. I think it's maybe an English thing that we have a kind of a soft attitude to certain elements of the aristocracy. But you know, when you see a super rich person, it's almost more annoying when they're not enjoying it to the fullest, their privilege and status and everything. But when you see an absolute drunkard, like mansion house owner, sort of yelling at the butler, and the butler's like, drunk again. And he's there gambling away the family fortune and everything, but red-faced, having a great time, just laughing and inviting people over for excessive drinks. I respect that guy more. I don't know why. It's very strange to me.
Well, I mean, because it's kind of like he's using his wealth for his own reasons. I mean, sure, we would define it, the actions as squandering and not, but the actual it's the reasons behind it, which is purely kind of like for the self-destructive enjoyment of it. There is we were talking about this on another podcast as well, but I mean, there is something about when human beings just go like wackadoodle and they kind of like destroy themselves. There is a massive entertainment factor to it. I suppose it can act in terms of like mirrored exposure as well, which is I suppose the reason why you get people like Hunter S. Thompson, where you might get this attitude of self-destructive kind of like interest as well. But I suppose that it's what that I mean, defining it as that is a completely different thing. It's like when you look at climate change, global warming being turned into climate change, as in terms of phraseology. It's all about what you call it and allowing people's perceptions to take that logical course, I think, on something.
It's funny, even with we're talking about kind of it being a bit hilarious when somebody just completely falls on their face in a life sort of on the scale of their big life decisions kind of a way. Someone like Hunter S. Thompson, I would never laugh at Hunter S. Thompson because he did exactly what he wanted to do. He didn't let anybody tell him what to do. When he like sort of lost whatever his sanity or his money, or
I think that's funny though. I also find
but you're laughing with him.
Yeah,
and then there's another type of person, which is like why people watch reality TV, which is where you're laughing at people just being morons and sort of making terrible decisions. Like if you ever watch those,
but then how do you define the Trailer Park Boys then? Because then that definitely makes many hours of my activities incredibly moronic, which they are.
Yeah,
I would, but then I would put it down to that charming kind of like that reptilian gnarliness that every single human being kind of has inside of them, where nobody is 100% pure. It's the reason why like nobody's perfect. Everybody has a thing that like even when the camera's not on them, like sort of at work, when you sit there and you start going like beep, 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 beep. Nobody's watching.
Yeah.
Oh, I can just behave how I want to behave. And there's a really good you ever watching Practical Jokers?
Yeah, big fan. I'm watching the most recent series.
Joe Gatto is interviewed on Theo Von. It's so good, dude. His life story as well is really interesting. He used to be a salesman.
I like my Italian Americans named after food.
But yeah, he's like super entertaining, and he has he's talking about like when he used to work for all of these like marketing firms and whatnot, and he'd just crush it because he was in sales and he used to like be able to sell anything to anybody.
Yeah,
and but
it's not the skills of walking up to strangers and just saying things.
I mean, he had this thing in oh god, in his like era. Sorry, man, I completely forgot what I was talking about. I got on a train of thought and I just kind of kept bumbling.
Crossing the streams.
Yeah.
We were talking about people's lives falling apart and it being a bit funny, or sometimes other times it being
that was
something you can respect.
Yeah. So he's because he doesn't drink or do drugs, or he's like never smoked a cigarette in his life. So he was talking about like he likes being the weirdest guy in the room because it kind of gives a lot of other people to allow them to be weird.
Yeah.
Like so he's at like this party that Theo Von was at, like with the rest of the cast and crew from Practical Jokers, and he's like just smashing his head against the wall because he's like upset about the football scores or something, and like but he's like being the craziest guy in the room.
Yeah.
And that's just so interesting to me because everybody needs to let off steam, and it's how it's the energy. It's the reason why people dance in nightclubs and whatnot. It's because you've got so much energy. No matter how hard you've worked that week, you still drag yourself out because I want to expunge more energy from my body. I want to throw more at the world.
It's weirdly like recharging, isn't it? You feel like you're expending energy. You're doing more exuberant, enthusiastic stuff than you do during like your work week. But that's the recharging. That's where you're getting the energy back. It's like you're saying, you get what you put in with things like this, and it's the same with partying. And it's a very clear it's a truism of like work hard, play hard. But the people who just work hard, there's a sort of build up inside of them, or a lack of energy. And if you don't find a way, you don't have to go out and get wasted and party, or be a Hunter S. Thompson. You can just have something, or something.
Single beer. Don't
have a really nice cheese and biscuit spread.
Have a load of cheese and biscuits, and don't do it every night. Just do it like what this has been. I can't remember the last time I had cheese. Proper like this. I mean, having cheese, big thick cut, like bacon cut slices on a cracker, and just go, it must have been like about 5 or 6 months ago, probably. At this rate.
They had a real nice piece of cheese.
Yeah, like sort of just sat and smashed a piece of cheese. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But like it's the same thing as well with like just loads of dried meat. I just love like I don't know what it is. You just sit and you just eat like loads of like wonderful meats. It's fantastic about it. I don't even know what it is.
Me and you are a little bit the same when we come to planning anything. So we were sort of sitting here thinking about this podcast, and I was like, so I brought a gift.
Cheers.
And
oh yes,
cheers.
yeah, well, yeah,
Well, yeah,
please,
we'll go
do
on to that.
discuss that.
But then we were like, well, we need that, but then also, what if that, alcohol's a depressant? Maybe we need some caffeine as well to keep us going. And like, that's all both going to dry our mouths out. Probably get some water as well. And we might get hungry. And we spent an awful long time in the supermarket choosing these cold meats. And
We did.
we were like, do you remember there's that other podcast where they eat hot wings? We should have some hot wings. And as well, I mean, what if after the whiskey there's our mouths are a bit warm, maybe we want some beer as well, and beer needs lime, and now we have this.
Beer needs lime, like I don't know, like a well needs a rope with a bucket on the end.
I like that. Beer is the well. That's why that is the cure for alcoholism. It is the lime. That's the lifeline that pulls you out.
Well taped bottles to so quote Joey Diaz, nobody's feelings get hurt.
Well, you know what? If there's some sort of lightning storm and it strikes the bottle, we're going to be insulated. So
absolutely, dude.
That is cheers.
Thank you. Cheers to insulation. Get your beer jacket on. It is
nothing without it.
We are currently coming up on 3:10, and
I can't remember when we started.
We've been going for 25 minutes already, and it barely feels like we're about 5 minutes in.
Yeah,
already. We've barely even talked about anything properly, apart from we brought up the booze.
Yeah, I had two things. I had a few things planned to talk about. One was I was going to go on about that because I like the company and I want to shill it. And I was going to show my blog. And apart from that, I basically just came on here to let everybody know that whiskey and writing is the thing.
So yeah, you and your friend had Greg has a lot of Twitter followers.
Instagram.
Instagram.
Instagram,
sorry, Instagram, not Twitter. Yeah.
I did got standards. But I don't know what's worse, like Pornstagram or the mecca of rage. It's just it came about because we were all discussing how stupid social media is, as a lot of these things do start. Like you begin doing it ironically, and then it just kind of becomes a habit of yours. Like I remember when I started using the word "lol" in conversation. I'm deeply ashamed to say that, but I remember I used to see people doing it and go, "That's fucking stupid." But
you get addicted to words.
Yeah.
I use the words "like" and "super" all the time,
super is a great
and I've fallen into the literally. It's physically.
Oh no, literally is one I can't put up with. Everybody hates it, but like,
I've used it in previous podcasts loads, and it's appalling. Like I
when you
truly dislike I'm so self-critical. I absolutely abhor my use of.
It's funny because language is always stupid if you look at it from another time.
Yeah, you need to promote the larger lexicon. You need to really, your arsenal of words that you can apply into everyday conversation needs to be as well stocked and as well managed as is possibly able to do. And reading is the thing that does that. But when you neglect reading, like I have done, this is a very long sentence. It has some pretty drastic qualities, and I find as well that my memory is poorer. As what we were talking about yesterday, my memory is so much poorer when I don't read and apply myself to learning. I need to keep learning all the time. I need to make sure that I instill that within myself. Every day when you wake up, like once a day, I should read a book, or not a whole book. I should read a passage at least from a book, and it should mean something. I should think about it, and it should be insightful.
And you can make it really enjoyable as well by spreading it out, and not because you feel that pressure of I should read, and like every time I sit down to watch a TV show, I'm like there's something more cultured, and I could be learning more.
What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm
watching moving pictures. What am I?
What are we doing, Greg? We're sitting here drinking beer, eating meat, and we're talking to the world. It's just so silly. Like there is no.
But
what are we as human beings? This is a very strange thing that we are doing right now.
But it's a dragon you can chase forever. There's a piece in everybody who has that impulse to read and to do different things and sample different experiences, that you want to sort of do everything and save the world while you're at it and meet everybody, and like you said, hypercritical. So maybe something happens and you think later, I could have done that better, and it tortures you for an inordinate amount of time. But in another way of looking at life, this is the point. You know,
Yeah.
the reading and the taking it slow and doing like 20 minutes and then thinking about it for a few hours, and then the next day doing 20 minutes and thinking about it for 3 hours. And maybe it takes you a very long time to read a very long book, but you've absorbed it more by the end of it.
Absolutely.
You know, things like this
I find
podcast,
this-
you're going to remember a good conversation when it's taken slowly. And
I find that this is where, like, for me, a lot of discipline is found through the temptations. I find discipline through my absolutely, but through my self-monitoring of my intake of things. Because the lucky thing as well is that I've been born with this ability to go like, my body will just not put up with me, you know, and it's always done this, you know. Because I've had moments where I've just gone like, oh wow, because I just drink maybe too much, like like in an evening, which has been known to happen, sort of thing. And I will be punished the next day, and there is no amount of like, I've probably done hair of the dog about, I could say less. I'm not in double digits with it, but I've done it, got quite a few, like I mean, maybe, but it's been like a rag race.
You
thing,
don't
it's
remember
been a
second year,
festival,
do you?
it's been like a lot of second year, but nobody remembers all of second year. That's the glorious thing about what second year was, is that the memory of second year is a jigsaw puzzle that every person that was a part of second year each has a piece. Yeah, absolutely.
like a locket that's been split in two.
Absolutely, that's
at the reunion.
Well,
but you know how
everybody comes together.
In the Pennywise It movies, they in the second half they're kids.
I haven't seen the second one.
I haven't seen either of them, but I know the story from hearing about the book and everything. I'm only going to spoil a well-known plot point. They beat the clown sort of as kids, and then they all leave town and completely forget about everything that happened when they beat the clown.
In the book as well.
Yeah, there's in the book it's not split into children and adults half and half. There's like it flips between, and it's a bit weirder in the books. But they come back to the town when they're adults, and they don't remember anything of what happened in the kid half. So I'm comparing that to second year. It's like that. We're going to come back to all reunite in Chichester one day and be like, oh fuck, do you remember when we solved all those crimes? Do you remember that weird little time where we formed a vigilante gang and we were
we saved the town?
Yeah, shit. Whatever happened to that villain guy? And then he'll come back.
Oh yeah, in that moment as we were there.
Or like, didn't the same thing happen in the World's End, that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost movie? They all had their...
You'll be watching that this evening.
Yeah, we're doing an old Cornetto trilogy.
You're going out for a mate's birthday, aren't you?
Yeah.
Treacherous bastard.
Yeah,
Staying down here with me.
I know, I'm sorry. It's too good of an opportunity. He's doing a Cornetto trilogy themed pub crawl, and I get to be Gary King.
We tied a few pebs on last night, so all's well. That will end very well for both of us. I can't remember what I'm doing. Oh yeah, I'm going to go and see Joker this evening.
Oh yeah,
super looking forward to that.
Have you heard all the weird controversy about? There's a few different controversies. There's one because everybody is complaining that it's not directly taken from the comic books, as far as I understand, and it's not part of any sort of cinematic universe. So
good. Do what you want.
Yeah, exactly. But people are mad because it doesn't have Batman and the Joker isn't like as wacky, but it's a character study and they give him a different backstory. And I think all that's fine. And then there's the other controversy where it's like, do you remember the
it feels like they're up to date with the evolution of the Joker character in the minds of the people that kind of like adore that character. Like they're at the forefront of like evolving where it can be taken.
In a funny kind of because Heath Ledger was kind of the peak, debatably, but I think so, of what I've seen. I'm not a comic fan, so I've only seen him in the movies, but there was all the silly ones. Then there were the quite good ones like
Cesar Romero and then Jack Nicholson.
I quite like Jack Nicholson, but it was a different
Mark
tone.
Hamill.
When they made it all gritty, that was good and everybody loved it. And then they had Jared Leto, which was
that was a travesty.
Really awfully terribly bad.
It was a travesty. I hated every Do
you know about his on-set antics?
Which is a shame because he is a bloody good actor. Let me just say that.
Requiem for a Dream. I think I'm not wrong in saying was him, and that was a really good film. I might be completely confusing him with somebody else.
No, you're quite right, but I'm never watching that again.
Oh, it's an awful, traumatizing film, but
it's
also a really good film.
It is very good. It is very good because its ability to traumatize me. Because I'm not like I can't remember. There was another one as well that I watched that it's called like The River or something like that. And oh god, it was just it just didn't end well. And even right at the end, then the last surviving character even then got killed. And I can't remember what it was. It was just I'm never watching it again though. What's that one as well? When there's people that get, I've got sorry about a piece of chicken in between my teeth.
I'm fully with you on the. This is gonna sound terrible. You need one of those pop shield things.
I have a thing. I have the very thing, the pop shield. Should I apply both pop shields?
I feel it would be a good one at this point because I'm quite a noisy eater.
I'm sorry that we're doing this in the middle of
Terribly.
the first 10 minutes of the podcast.
Terribly unprofessional.
It is Friday today, and we have I don't know if I'm screwing that in the right direction. It's a Friday today, and Greg and I have Fridays off, you see. So as a result, our Thursday night is our Friday, so this is our Saturday technically, and then Saturday is also Saturday.
I have a friend who describes Thursday as Friday light.
I have muffler things as well, but we can probably do. I wouldn't get it too muffled.
Where I want it.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah, that's the one.
I can't even see that.
Yeah, I suppose we'll find out later. It could be that this isn't a pop shield. It's actually like a dishwasher filter, and it's completely ruining our voices.
So, when was the last time you did any sort of painting?
Oh God, almost never. Finger painting.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
As we've sort of talked about before,
That's my third one of these.
Polish meat, man. I don't know if that's actually Polish, but that type of sausage, recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
Cheers. The painting not so much. As we've spoken about before, we're both sort of jacks of all trades, try and do everything. In my case, procrastinate too much and often don't get things done. I drew a landscape back in 2014. That was the last thing I remember ever drawing.
Wow.
Apart from doodles on napkins.
What was it for?
Nothing. It was in first year at uni when we were living. Do you remember there were the Saxon ruins in that little field with the horses next to our hall?
Oh yeah, that's the Roman Forum.
Ruins, yeah, sorry. And then just across the street there was a weird little alleyway that went over down to the sea. I would just go down there and get a little bit intoxicated during the day, and I would take various hobbies with me and juggling equipment and painting things.
You're allowed to. You've got no, you've got no 9 to 5 or anything at the time. And if you do, then you got to quit it by second year because second year's coming. So
the first year is the biggest lie ever told to the American people. Fucking
the American people.
It's fucking Watergate level shit because they tell you that it's going to be a big step up from college, and you're like, okay, all right, I'm ready for this. Yeah,
Dude, it was for me. I was like, I was.
No, but that's the thing. It is. It is, but you get there. You get to first year, and you're like, okay, it's a big step up, but I got all this time for partying. I've got like, I don't know how it was in your degree, but in English we had like 3 or 4 lectures a week. Mostly you'd have like 4 days off or something.
Yeah,
it got even better in later on, but the lectures were harder. But yeah, the coursework got super difficult as well. But it wasn't as big a jump from college as I thought. And then second year comes along and just takes a big shit on your life.
But it's also awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah, it was great.
It's like the most anarchic year of my life is probably second year of uni. I don't know, third is a pretty good one.
I had quite a boring third year.
Did you come to the second house party?
I knuckled down. Well, at your big house in
yeah, Upton.
I think so. Yeah.
When we had the bouncy castle. I mentioned that on the previous podcast, but
that was the most.
Everybody has a different experience of that night, because especially if you came to the second one that we ever did, because the second one blew out of proportion.
Is that which one did?
What my landlady had the police off of?
Wait, the police came around. I don't remember that one.
And they didn't make it into the cul-de-sac because she headed them off at the front of the road.
I thought you meant she called them.
No, somebody else in the neighborhood called them, and they were of a different politically socialized ideology, a certain niche ideology, basically, and in the said
were they Mormons?
Cul-de-sac. No. if they were Mormons, they probably wouldn't have called the police. They'd been like, hey, could you keep the noise down?
I don't know. My only,
Hey.
my only knowledge of Normans is from Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Pretty mine as well.
You've seen Orgasmo,
I haven't met
you?
like a few. Yes, but a very long time ago.
Great fans about a Mormon who becomes a porn star.
But yeah, no, they were. I'm pretty sure that they had some slight, probably notable Aryan qualities.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know how else to. Yeah, dude. That was my saying. I only found this out like the week after, like 2 or 3 weeks after the party as well. Like, and then we had like the person next door to us as well was a member of the Chichester District Council, and they'd had like a baby. So they had like basically a newborn. It wasn't even a year old, and we were like throwing like massive rages, but this was like in the middle of one of them. Yeah, and I can't remember whether or not. I think we did go around and say to people, "Hi, we're having a party. I hope you don't mind."
Give your phone number. That's the best you can do. It does suck when people complain without talking to you. I've had that recently because I lived in a leafy, quiet suburb near my town, and we would just have a sort of quite loud party. But I offered them the phone number, and they said no, they didn't want it. Just like, it's fine, don't worry about it. But then as soon as we got even slightly loud, they would complain directly to our estate agent, which was around the corner, rather than talking to us or talking to us the next day or whatever.
Our landlady lived 2 houses down from us.
Yeah. That's good. You got a good canary then. So if she says shut up, then that's when you shut up.
Absolutely. But she just she came up to us and was like, yeah, you gotta calm this down, and you gotta have less people here, because unfortunately, you remember Yit Yak?
What is that a person?
No, it's an application. Yit Yak is an app in sort of like between 20. I'm probably going to be wrong on my dates here, but maybe like 2012 to 2015, 16. It's probably still going, but it's like it's a location kind of like social media device.
When you didn't do like a Project X thing, did you? Were you just like, house party at this location?
Somebody did.
Oh no!
Somebody turned up to our house party and put because they're at our location. They were just like, there's a house party coming here, and the Chai uni student halls were literally across the road from us.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you could literally hurl a stone at like their dormitory.
So you got the whole of first year.
So loads of first year kept on, and then they all like texted mates and stuff. So that we had like between 70 to 115 people in a 5-person house.
Good Lord, that was a massive house, but
absolutely. Oh, dude, I couldn't move.
Too many.
There was a moment when me, Dave, Jack, and Andy and Richard were all at the bottom of the staircase, just in a sea of people, like in the main porch, and there were people still trying to come in. And I was I was trying to get like people, and we just happened to meet at the bottom of the stairs. Dave and Richard were like on the stairs.
Like you're floating on debris outside the Titanic, and you
like,
just get to each
Jack
other.
was like behind me, and then like we both came through the door into like the main hallway, and then Andy looked over the crowd through the kitchen at us, and we all like kind of met eyes and exchanged eye contact, and we both, all of us, like telepathically agreed, just let it ride out, because otherwise it's because you can't tell them to leave. You can't.
That would just cause a ruckus. Nobody will leave.
You don't want to cause a ruckus. You don't want to deliver bad information or anything. And the entire thing just ever so slowly deflated, really.
Everyone will feel the same. Nobody wants to be in a house party that's that crowded for too long.
Yeah. The shame was as well that quite a few people that had come a long way also had to leave early, so there was a lot of like life lessons and things of like how to conduct and make a party. And
you only need a couple of them before you go never again.
Like it's almost like you don't want too many people. It really, like, too many people it's almost easy. So you've got to have just the correct amount of people that fill that space and fill each bit of that space. Yeah,
and it can change throughout the night. You can have more people at the beginning and then people leave, and the tone of the party changes as you get later on, and when energy starts running low at about
start opening new rooms up.
Suddenly, and then you're walking around. Suddenly, you're like, "There's no one here," but you open a bedroom and there's like 20 people in there all chilling. And it's like, "Oh, okay, no, that's where the party is."
No, yeah, it was exactly that. And there was some guy that fainted, out, and passed out, with his face in a pizza of sick, outside of our front, and then there was bottles in the bushes, and it was crazy. But the whole thing was as we said, it ended well.
It's the kind of party that I think everybody should probably have one, or do it once, kids.
Yeah,
but
You heard it from the man's mouth. He's endorsing this kind of behaviour.
Not if it's your place. Only do it at your parents' house.
We do not. There's a lesson which is just have a couple of mates around for beer and Mario Kart, but don't go full.
The second part of what I was going to say was, but not too often. Do both. do Mario Kart as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny. We're at that where I always go on about how old I feel. I'm 25, and I'm at that age now where I can have one of those parties. I'd be so worried about my knickknacks and people stealing my, I don't know, pissing on my books.
I think I'm in the last location right now, which is where we're holding the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This may be the last location that we are able to throw a messy party. So we are debating on doing it before we leave. But we're not too sure yet. It might. I mean, it's sort of an 80%. It's not going to happen really at the moment, and I'm okay with that. Like I've kind of had my fun time at this point. Like I don't know. I like myself. Like, you know, if I can get to them and have them now, I'm at that point where I just search for the very rare, sophisticated party, sort of thing.
I'll probably keep it a bit less sophisticated than you in general, but I see what you're saying.
Three out of 5 working nights, I'd like a beer or a red wine at the end of my evening, and then at the weekend, I might go out one night, but I've rarely gone out at all. Like, you know, sort of like the past few months really.
I think we're lucky or wise maybe that we
could save money, like because it's expensive as hell.
I was gonna say, because we absolutely rinsed it in our sort of teenage years and very early 20s. Now we see the value. It's like we were talking earlier before the podcast started about the value of sobriety.
Absolutely. It's being able to appreciate the fact that you, no matter how hard you try, there are things that you can only do when you are sober.
But there are more than that, things that you only want to do.
Well, that's a better way of phrasing it.
Because I know people who do very inappropriate things while smashed.
So do I. We both do. But it's getting to that point where you realize you're in that moment in yourself, and you have the option you have the power of doing it, and then you have that Buddhist concentration thing where you're like, I'm just definitely not for this particular moment going to intoxicate myself, because it wouldn't work out. It's the questionable bits, but then there's definitely other bits. Like I like having maybe a beer on the weekend with a couple of beers on the weekend with my family, or like and I love going to the pub with my dad. I love going to the pub with my kind of occasionally going out with my brother, as either of them, and my sisters-in-law, whatever. I've been out with them a few times, and weddings and whatnot. But I most of the time prefer being absolutely straight sober with family. I really do. I love it. I appreciate it, and especially as well since I've got a beautiful niece now as well. Like, it's so much more. I really appreciate and breathe in every moment that you spend with those people, because it's such an important and crucial thing and part of life to take in. And I'd love to tell anybody that burns the candle a little bit harder at both ends, that has family that they that they get along well with and they care about, like we do, that it is good to spend non intoxicated times with them, because it's it very rarely happens. And when you not have you haven't had a drink or anything, it's those the memories of it are all the sweeter, because you haven't tarnished any of it with it. And then not only that as well, but I mean, when you're sober, when you do have a drink, it's so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And like,
contrast is so important in life. Having contrast, but realizing where you are, having the grounded feeling is really important. Flying occasionally, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's a really good way of channeling your energy and destroying your ego, and going back to basics on how you feel about your day, and dropping all the baggage, sort of thing, is a very important part of it. I think relieving stress, which is a killer. Oh yeah, stress is so crazy.
It's in all of its widespread effects. It's one of the biggest sort of dangers in the world.
As you get older, stress gets like, I don't know. It's for me anyway. Stress has like become it's not like an anxiety thing. I'm not actively afraid of it. I don't believe it's some big weird monster or something I can charm out of myself or anything like that.
But it's kind of it affects things in ways that other things don't. If you've got a headache or whatever, you're still you. But if you're really stressed, it changes the way you think and your actions.
You're piling important things that you care about that matter, and they don't just matter to you; they matter to other people on top of one another. And you are expected to perform on every single last one of those things. And it's like we were talking about earlier. It's the spinning plates.
Yeah,
it's your duty to accomplish all of those tasks to the best of your ability, and you have to be ready, available, and with that person because they deserve the best you. They deserve the best version of you, and the best version of you 90% of the time is you when you haven't had too much of this on the inside of you,
but also not too little.
But also, yeah, exactly. Like Joe, oh God, what's his name? Seth Rogen was saying recently. He's like, I'm never at 0, but I'm not. I spend most of my time not going after 100,
Yeah, there's a very important difference that often gets forgotten between.
I know what 100 is, but I've never, I haven't been there in a very long time,
yeah.
sort of thing.
Well, it's like everything in moderation. I think a lot of people think that moderation means never doing much of anything, and I think it's the opposite. I think not the opposite, but it's like it's having a little bit of excess and a little bit of like. What's the opposite of excess? A little repression, and a little excess at different times. But your average, your mean level being somewhere in the like lower end, below 25.
Yes, absolutely. You want to land around. I think 15 under for me probably. I mean,
and that doesn't just mean like intoxication. I mean, in the general sort of looseness of your thinking, like you were saying, getting wasted, kind of, or not even getting wasted, just getting wacky on whatever you're doing. One of the greatest benefits of it is it's the losing yourself and the getting rid of the stress and that's the advantage of it. So yeah, it's valuable and it brings that average level of life stress down a lot. But like we were saying, it's a thin line and you have to be mindful of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because like I know people who'd be like, that classic like stoner stereotype where it's like, yeah man, that's awesome, but how it would be better if you were high.
One of my favorite ones is the dog advert where the dog talks to the guy. So the guy it's like one of those anti-weed commercials, which are some of the funniest, best.
Oh my god, yeah! I have seen that one.
My favorite one's the one.
My melts into the sofa.
Yeah, that's my second. That's my second. Hey,
and he's just like
destroyed. And
they did the Friday.
Somebody did. Oh yeah, this is your brain on drugs. Yeah, somebody did a version of one of those, and it's I don't know, a YouTuber or something. And it's of this guy, and he owns the dog that's like saying to hey Mark, you smoking? And like the dog is like talking, and it's like mouthing. Hey Mark, you're high again. You're not yourself when you're high. I want my friend back. Kind of thing, and he's like, but like Mike replies, and he's like, "Yeah, I wish you'd stop shitting on the couch," He's like, and then and then the dog just gets off the stool, and the guy goes, "Wait a minute, I don't have a dog. Fucking Christ, talking dogs! I got to go off Tommy and get another half ounce." I love stuff like that.
They do. I do as well. That's why Reefer Madness is such a phenomenon.
Reefer Madness. The guy on the piano.
Is it Reefer Madness where the guy gets the shotgun and he's like, "I'm so high, man.
That's another anti-weed advert done by the same people.
Shoots himself in the face, and the guy's like, "Johnny, no,
no."
Like fucking Troll 2. No.
Oh, dude, Troll 2 is the best thing ever. I love that one guy in Troll 2. I shouldn't talk about this.
Actually, I haven't watched the whole thing.
The reason why is because when I do get him, he's coming on the podcast. He's nothing, and we're going to do another like me and you sort of
the Troll 2 guy.
No, dude, that'd be amazing.
That'd be fucking incredible.
I don't want to go. Good. Dude, I get a joint podcast. I get a joint mic podcast for you and Ross to say about. I was saying like when Ross gets on here, we want to have a massive discussion about bad movies.
I do. I was going to say I want us to touch on cinema a bit because we're both big fans.
Oh yeah.
But like you and Ross know a lot more about the outside.
But the only reason why is because we have done an extensive list at this point, and dude, it's gotten so much bigger since your last.
Well, we sat down and watched Battlefield Earth last time, and that was
incredible, isn't it?
That made me a massive John Travolta fan when I really wasn't that big of a one before.
I was being born to conquer galaxies.
What's it when he's like when he pretends that he's getting a promotion but he's actually staying on Earth and he's like with indefinite renewal or something.
John Travolta's the best.
Staying on Earth forever.
That's all I think of John Travolta is. Oh look. like in Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! And 2 shakes of a
glorious,
lamb's
man.
tail. We added a few more things to the list recently.
God, it's huge.
Oh, dude, it's so big, mate. We've been working on this for so long. Yeah, 45. We're on to 45 now.
A little picture of the Buddha at the bottom.
That's for Death Game, which was that film that I was showing you
Oh,
yesterday.
right, okay.
Which is Huang Zhongli.
The Buddha.
And
Yeah.
some my precious Buddha. That's two incompetent pieces of nothing. You haven't even seen that bit of the movie yet.
I
I
only
can't
watched clips of it
wait for you to
yesterday.
watch the rest of it. It's such a
Goddamn.
great movie. I
Yeah,
loved
like
it so
amazing.
much. And Turkish Star Wars, The Swarm. I mean,
We
we're going to go
watched a
over
bit of that, but that was just incomprehensible. I couldn't follow Turkish Star Wars at all.
We were like Troll 2's insignia of representative placement on the list because it has the popcorn from my favorite scene in the entire movie, which is where that guy has sex with the druid lady. My name is Madame Sims of ancient druid origins. Yeah, and she's like all wacky and stuff. And but yeah, there's that guy, the guy that, and she's like really hot though when she's not like got.
I've only seen the bit where she's like,
oh, dude,
fully clothed,
later
just
on,
looking down at everybody.
dude,
being
later on, she loses all of the makeup.
Do
and
they have
she
the
kind of,
classic
does this
B-movie
thing.
gratuitous sex scene?
No, they don't. But they insinuate gratuitous sex scene though
Okay.
and they have sex in popcorn. And there's like loads of popcorn all over the place,
Like
and the
roast
guy's just
petals on a bed.
and the guy's like just sitting there, and this woman is like systematically like killed and fed people, like or turned them into trees, like throughout the entire movie. And the only person that she doesn't do it to is this one guy who's like basically his only scene in the entire film is banging this mysterious druid woman in this camper van, like covered in popcorn, and he's just sitting there and just going. Like he just can't believe that he's
looking like
nothing bad happens to him. That's the only thing. Like and she's like genuinely really hot as well. Like she's a 10 without any of the druid makeup on or anything. And she's like looking all seductive and everything. I was just not ready for it. And it was one of the funniest things ever. And she just leaves this guy just destroyed in popcorn.
That's just reminding me of
has a great time and everybody else dies or gets fed to trolls and shit.
It's a bit more lighthearted. Do you remember in Ghostbusters when I think it's Dan Aykroyd gets a blowjob from a ghost? And he's just sitting there. It pans away. His belt like just magically comes undone, and it pans up to his face, and he goes cross-eyed. Like,
does that happen?
That happens in the second one, I believe.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen that one.
It's not as good, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that happened.
I wish there was more Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd movies. I kind of want more.
Do you know? I don't know Dan Aykroyd from anything other than those movies and the vodka.
Oh, Trading Places.
I'm a much bigger fan of the vodka. Oh, that's Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah,
I haven't watched that film in ages.
Dude, Trading Places is Dan Aykroyd.
With Eddie Murphy.
I'm dining with Penelope tonight. Yeah.
Damn, I haven't watched that movie in a long time. Didn't realize it was him.
Merry Christmas. How'd you like a stump of your ass? Oh, Eddie Murphy steals.
That's not the one where he's on a trolley at the beginning, is it?
Yeah, he's blind,
he's pretending
and he's like just going along normally, and then he sees the police officers, and he really puts on the show. He's like, just going forward.
What happened to Eddie Murphy? Does he still do things?
He has recently on Jerry Seinfeld's.
That's another thing I've never watched.
Jerry Seinfeld's getting comedians in cars getting coffee. He's done.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
He does. Anyway, sorry. He hasn't done any press really.
Because he used to be in everything.
And he has recently on that announced his return to stand-up comedy.
Oh really? Oh shit.
Yeah.
I sort of missed his stand-up. I was big. I'm probably going to get this wrong now, but it was him in like the Nutty Professor and Dr. Dolittle and stuff, wasn't it? Yeah, that's what I remember him from my childhood. Just being the wacky comedy dude.
Dr. Dolittle, I think, was the one I kind of remember. Well, have you seen Dave? It's a really bad film, but there's occasionally some very good lines in it.
I'm trying to think. There's one where it's like him and he plays an also fat version of himself. Is that Norbit? That Eddie Murphy?
Norbit,
yeah. No, I don't think I've seen Dave.
Oh, Dave is pretty funny, and he's called like he's Dave Muhammad David Lee. Because that's like the aliens found out that those are the 3 most common names in planet Earth. So to fool other human beings, he's called like Muhammad Lee.
He comes down
and then he's like and then he's like a Dave instead. and he has this great line where he wins this toy at a fair, and it's like one of these he's like, and it's a frog. It's like a fluffy frog, and he just goes like, "What is this plush amphibian?" It's just such a good line. I love this plush amphibian.
Simpler time.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. We should probably go on to. I mean, we're talking about Greek myths, and then we went on to books, and it kind of feels weird that we're still on the podcast. We don't need any of this. What do we just? Let's just go out into the streets and shout our messages from the rooftops.
Turn this into a vlog. We'll start walking around town. And
yeah, take our laptop. It's a shame I can't take that with me because it's
out here in Army.
It will die.
Go smoke some big doinks.
The doinks. I forgot about the doinks bloke. That was very funny.
I saw it when I looked him up yesterday. It turned out he died of a collapsed lung, and I was just like,
"Oh no! Oh, smoking is bad, kids."
The doinks were too big.
Too many doinks.
Yeah.
Oh,
he was out in Amish, no hospital.
Oh, dude. I love your we were talking earlier about I love your attentiveness to stand-up comedy, and that you were looking at applying yourself more to the realm of comedy than you have been. I mean, in the past few years, because you said that when you were growing up, you were
I used to
studied
a
lot of comedians and I mean, what's your probably like your top 3 right now?
Ooh. I gotta say, I've been getting massively back into Chappelle since the Sticks and Stones special that everybody was annoyed about. Do you know, he got a 0% rating on IMDb. Yeah, because everybody was like, it's too non-PC. Even though that was the entire point, like, obviously. But yeah, I've been big back into him. We're both massive fans of Bill Burr. I've gone more over to the American side of things in my growing up.
Oh, dude, Ken Dodd was like my bread and butter growing up. I went to go and see him live in Torquay.
He's not the my ex-wife guy, is he, with the cigar? Am I thinking of someone else?
No, there's quite a few comedians from that area. I mean, David. My dad showed him to me recently. I can't remember who it was.
Oldest comedians I really know about are like Bill Hicks, Billy Connolly,
Eddie
Murphy. Billy
There was this old woman on a bus.
Okay.
And she was gone. I looked over and she was gone.
The bus flew over a bump down a hill.
And then when we was on the plane, and we took off into the night on this plane.
Is that the one with the jobby huika?
From like, oh god. Oh, no, that's the one where the guy next to him is like has quite a few beers, and he's like, and then he starts explaining what he'd eaten before he gets on the plane. He's like, I've had barbecued goose with spring onions and ginger and pickled garlic, and it was unfucking believable. It was one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life. And then he said, we got onto the plane. And he says, and we took off into the night, and then and this man, he curled up into a ball next to me on the seat. You couldn't see him if you turned around. You just see me, and he curled up into a ball like a squirrel, and this man farted, and it wasn't the fact that it was the biggest, the smelliest, it was the longest fart I'd ever like, and he goes like, he goes onto this bit. He's like, and then the smell came, like, and he said, like, everybody else in the plane was like turning around and looking at him, and they could only see Billy Connolly, and like the guy's still farting in his hair. Like he's like lifting his hair up, and people just seeing him with his hair going. But, it's not me. And this horrible smell infecting the plane.
He has such an incredible way of just drawing out a story and sort of like beating you across the head with it. He'll make all the sound effects and just tell you precisely. He'll break it down to like a second by second recap of what happened.
Yeah, and he stops in the middle of the story just to take the piss out of himself for like about 30 seconds, and then goes back to the story again. Like, you've seen Dylan Moran coming back a little bit more recently as well.
No, not recently.
Yeah, he's doing a little bit press.
He's one of my all-time favorites. I've seen him live.
I'm so jealous.
I used to. I've seen many more comedians, probably not anymore, but I used to have seen more comedians in my life than like music gigs. A lot.
Wow.
I've seen most of my favorite like English ones.
Eddie Murphy?
No.
Sorry, not Eddie. Eddie Izzard. I mean, have you seen?
Yeah, I think I went with my parents when we were like really young. Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen Dara Brian, Tim Minchin. I saw Tim Minchin. That was awesome. But yeah, Dylan Moran's fucking amazing. The whole, his first stand-up show. It wasn't like Totally. It was the one before that, I think it is. But where he does the whole routine about happy memories from childhood, and your mother's there, and she smells like cream and biscuits, and she comes over and she's got the ice cream just for you. It's just for you, and everything's just happy, and the light's coming in at the right angle, and she's wearing Laura Ashley printed dress, and then the cage comes down. with the giant spiders inside.
The cage with the Japanese fighting spiders. And your mother would strike a match off her forearm and tell you to dance in the front room for money. One of my favorite all-time sketches, dude. Oh my god. Oh, that guy is he's a river of hilarity to people. Like, he is so good.
Dilmore.
Yeah,
you've watched Black Books, haven't you?
Oh, every episode,
I
about
love
three or four times, and then I've also
incredible.
watched all of his stand-up specials as well. Like, I can't remember Yeah that well, but
he had like totally what it is. Yeah,
Monster.
Monster. That was the first one.
Monster,
That's the one I was talking about.
So good.
Yeah. Like totally was really good as well. I think what it is the one I saw live. Yeah, absolutely incredible guy. He needs to do more TV. He was so good on that show. Him and Bill Bailey.
Looking hoonage here.
Oh.
Shall I get some? I was just thinking I should probably get some ice for this. I'm gonna have a.
Shall we? Should we break it out?
I think we should. I mean, let's have another hit of coffee, because I mean we're only an hour into this thing, and we barely gotten started really.
we discussed how many days this recording is going to go on for. I think it could be several. I mean, we are fully stocked. Months. We literally don't have to go anywhere for
committed. I wish we had like a chamber pot like underneath the table.
We could just call down Cartman's mum.
Cartman's mum. Yes, take the line. Yes.
God, yeah. We could get into South Park as well. Speaking of comedy and the all-time greats,
they are still killing it. Yeah. They are still absolutely just destroying it at the moment.
It never stops. It just never stops being up to the minute, like cutting edge comedy that nobody else is saying.
I wonder if they still do the whole 6 days to air or whatever.
I bet they do. Yeah, you've seen that little mini documentary, haven't you? Yeah,
fantastic.
Watching them do the voices
because they don't do many. That's the reason why they leave you wanting more all of the time, every single time.
But I think you can tell it's so authentic, the comedy, and it really is just their expression of like how they see the conflicts in the world at the moment, but told through little paper cutouts. It's such a beautiful way of expressing it that they only need that much time, because it's really, I imagine at this point for them, it's not like easy to write, but I bet they've
done so much.
Just go in and say what they think and think of wacky ways to tell it.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just going to say, like, there is a bit of Orson Welles in them where they approach a story by going like, right, what do we want to do next? And they just go, yeah, right, we're going to do that, and that's what's happening next. They're like this like that Bill Burr mentality where they're just going, no, I'm not doing it, or like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'm on board, and if he's on board, he's 100% on board. That is what's happening next. That is what clear everything else off my schedule. This is what's happening. I'm going to go full testicles deep on this. We are committed. We've got absolutely, we've got the team assembled. Let's put the bat symbol in the sky. We're getting everybody. I love that. I love that mentality. I think it's so inspiring. In terms of anything, when you just go like, I'm going to go to the gym today. There's nothing anybody can do about it to stop me. Like, call off Christmas. I'm doing this. This is what is happening next. And I adore that, like that, absolutely. But obviously, if the power of it is devoted to something good, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to sort of summon up that kind of enthusiasm and broadcast it to other people if you do have a good sort of aim in mind. Like, South Park's obviously just meant to entertain and to kind of inform and cut through hypocrisy, because they see all this hypocrisy in the world and these conflicting viewpoints and everybody being stupid about that day's political issue, and they go, right, we're just going to expose everybody that's being dumb, and that's their entire goal. It's completely noble. There's nothing like shady about wanting to make that show. Some shows like you watch and you don't really trust because you feel like they're just making money, or they're just trying to big up the actors, or just trying to, it's all for ego or for some sort of agenda. I never feel that with South Park. They've got that sort of, like you say, just pushing through and doing it, that like confidence and charisma that sucks people in and makes me want to feel like a part of that world and believe in the characters. And even though it's obviously told through the most like dumbed down, simplified, paper cutout cartoon medium,
but that's how they deliver the information.
Caricatures like Cartman,
they seduce you and then provide you with something absolutely like that's a very good piece of advice, kind of, but it's hidden in irony and all sorts of things sometimes. And then sometimes they just go, no, this is what is happening. What are we doing? And this is absolute bullshit. This is such a dumb way of doing things. Why what is the purpose of
And
this
then
going to be?
sometimes it's not that biting, and it's just look at how ridiculous this is. Like one of my favorite episodes is the human Sentai pad one.
Oh, yes.
Just because it's like it's not particularly political. It's just no, not the asparagus.
Should I have the cuttlefish bisque with asparagus, or should I have like what was it, like a dessert or something?
I can't remember. Yeah, it was just something really
like
simple.
Rose
Carrot cake or
petals,
something.
carrot cake. And it's like,
You
you
want me to have this?
want me to have the cuttlefish? Fine, I would have gone for the strawberry, but because you wanted the cuttlefish, I'm now going to do the cuttlefish.
And the entire episode is just about terms and conditions, and the fact that nobody reads it.
Yeah, don't just accept the terms and conditions. Were you insane? Yeah, because they equated to a regular conversation between two people, where somebody hands you something, and you're like, why would you sign that without reading? I mean, I've done it before, but it's been it's been in a situation where I'm 99.99999% this person's not going to break into my house in the middle of the night through a contractual obligation and steal my liver or something like that. Or
well, it's funny, there are things though, like obviously most things you trust them. You know the website Reddit?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I recently went to post like a story beginning that I had on there. There's like writers feedback subgroups. So you post something.
You've got to show me some of those afterwards, by the way. If that's okay. I'd love to, because I want a place to post my my T. Lawrence articles.
Oh, fuck yeah!
Which I should. I'll show you a few of them after the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the terms and conditions of Reddit, I read them, part of them. When you post something on Reddit, they get absolute rights to it. They can do whatever they want with it, make a movie out of it. You can't say shit. They can change it, alter it.
No,
they get full rights to anything that you post on Reddit. But I don't think it counts if you link to your website. But I don't know how enforceable that is, whether they would actually do anything with it. But technically, it's in the... Because they just make them as broad and vague as possible to basically give themselves all the rights and take any rights away. It's classic, like,
they must be making an absolute fortune on selling information of, like, ideas and...
I mean, every big website's, like, selling your information.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very simplified thing.
Let's
I just said. But I'm saying, like, the way that they do it must be so much more, like, kind of cut and dry, maybe. I'm assuming than many other businesses that do it, that are a bit louder, that are a little bit more sort of outspoken about the fact that they are, like we are working with these people, so we're probably going to provide your information to, these said people type thing.
Well, Facebook are in the ship at the moment, aren't they? They're getting sued by multiple people for the it was a Oxford something organization that was like a data collection.
It's Dave Lazarevic watching this.
Hey.
Shout out to Dave Lazarevic.
I forgot. I did say I was going.
I'm terribly sorry. Like I interrupted you there.
That's fine.
He's literally just.
Massive shout out. Check out his blog. David, post your blog name.
Yeah, dude. Get it around the comment section, dude. He's going to be coming on here at another point. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have you both on.
Oh, dude, that'd be a classic show.
So
I think you should try and get Angus on as well. I don't know if he'd.
Oh God, yeah. Dude, he's a storm. That man. Yeah.
He's great. I haven't been able to get hold of him for a little while, but yeah, he'd make a good guest for sure.
Oh, dude, there's so many people I can't wait to have on the podcast. Like so many people, like amazing, interesting people. I have the privilege, and I can't give it enough credence of like how lucky in life I am that I get to know all these incredible, wacky, awesome people that have these like strict codes of conduct, but they're also like so no I always make sure that I'm this and I'm home by like sort of 9:30 and I get up every morning at 4:30, but then I also like shotgun a beer before I get in the bath, and you're like what I have to do a double take, I'm just using this as a random hyperbole, over exaggerated example. I don't know anybody that actually does that, but no,
probably that video. It's like we were talking nobody on like we were talking about Hunter S. Thompson's like daily drug usage earlier.
Oh god,
nobody quite on that
3
level.
3 p.m.
Like,
rise. No, I don't
like
know
6
anybody
o'clock.
like
no,
that.
it was like 4 o'clock. Start on the cocaine properly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Start 6 p.m. Start doing cocaine properly. And then it's that 11 p.m. bit where he's already done all of this cocaine and he's had a Chivas Regal like 4 times and it's probably a double.
Dropped acid at 9.
And then he drops
like
acid on top of all of this stuff, and I just think like.
And then he's like, midnight, ready to write.
Yeah, Hunter Thompson is ready to write. 6 a.m. in the hot tub with champagne.
Fucking Joe Rogan remix.
Oh yes, Joe Rogan remixes.
Iconic.
Magnificent.
Yeah. But no, nobody quite on that level. But yeah, no, I do certainly agree. We're lucky to know so many. Like I say, it is kind of to do with discipline and having a bit of structure and
because that's
just
you,
knowing what you want.
You enjoy the things so much more. I can't get like enough of like the fact that the moment I like the second I start abusing the system properly, it's all fun goes out the window, and you start questioning like things in weird ways, and you start like even you see your stuff, you start acting on, and you're like, why am I thinking that thing, and you're like. Because I'm not a a comfortable level that I should be performing at within this situation or within this scenario, and you always have that base. You always have that little thing in the back of your head that stops you from turning into that Jeffy crazy Hunter S. Thompson kind of like. I'm using him quite a lot in this podcast.
He's such a character, and we're both big fans. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, like, who would be another interesting person? Like, I mean, Elvis would be. So you just.
I thought people like. Do you know? Are you a fan of Terence McKenna at all? He's a big.
Yes, I'm aware of he's the acid test 60s, 50s guy. Is he?
He did a lot of things. I don't know if he was the acid. I don't know who you mean by that, but he was a big proponent of psychedelics for a long time.
Some bloke who dropped acid once every single day, and he was a scientist, and he was like a biological scientist.
I mean, there's the guy because there's Bicycle Day every year where they celebrate the history of acid, and that was made. It was a
Bicycle Day. Know all of these amazing things. I couldn't wait to have you on like Biscotti Conversations. Could not wait to have you on here because
I'm glad to be here,
dude. It's so rad that you just drop in there I think I know a lot about a little bit about a lot of this stuff because I love touching the void and a lot of these things, but I never have sort of the time because I have so many interests and so many hundreds of things I want to do where I go I fancy reading about Terence McKenna for 2 days or 3 hours or however long, and then I'm like, I'm gonna go play pigeon shooting today, or I'm gonna go bowling, or I'm gonna go and do exercise, or I'm gonna go and do something wacky activity, and then I'll completely forget that I was studying that until I go home and I see the copy of the book.
Yeah, I think we're similar in that, like we were talking about before, being jacks of all trades and wanting to sample a little bit of everything and know about everything, and it in a way it can lead, I found it leads to me having a bit shallow knowledge of a lot of things, but we have different areas where we will delve completely really far deep into these things, and
where you wear your heart in your fingertips when you're reading things in your eyes and stuff because you fall in love with these weird little moments, and
and that's where the best conversations happen, is where we share the things that you only had a small knowledge of, and there's so many things, like your musical knowledge is so much larger than mine that you can tell me all about the history of these bands.
No. Well, my musical knowledge isn't that the problem is that I also have I'm also suffer, unfortunately, from a thing. I'm pretty sure it's a beautiful word I read the other day, and it's got a confabulation, and it was in it wasn't the Joseph Conrad's.
That means kind of like jamming a lot of things together into a collage, right?
Yeah, and its kind of its specificity is on the etymological definition of it is basically that the information that you have recorded in your brain is it is sound, but a lot of it's jumbled up. So it's not the fact that you've got the facts wrong, but you've got the overall fact wrong. So it wasn't the man ran into battle without any trousers, and you're like, no, it was his best friend that ran into battle without any trousers, and he actually told a story about it or something. And you can get these big things confused, but oh god, I'm using the horrible it was literally it was like, oh mate, it's like this.
Your brain is literally so. Oh god, it's crazy. It's amazing. All those words that everybody uses all the time. I think the brain is
French words
grunting
between. Bless the French. I love the French. Shout out to Cedric if he does end up watching this.
French people I will.
Oh, there's a girl at work that can speak fluent French as well. I work with. It's really impressive. And she's got a mini degree in doctorate. Sorry, not mini degree, but it's I can't remember.
French degree as a mini degree.
No, it's not. It's she has a degree in electrical engineering, and I never knew. She's an AC/DC Kiss fan, and just kind of yeah, but yeah, it's like it's so cool to never judge a book by its cover, because there's so many incredible, interesting people. It's like we were saying, it's such an amazing time to live in because of all of the amazing, wacky people that we live with nowadays. You know, people going back to what we were saying, the people that you and I know that create our experiences kind of in time. These, you know, they hammer in these incredible pins and attach notes of interest to them in the wall of your brain, and that's what creates that confabulation kind of process where I start, because I meet so many interesting people. I have the privilege of meeting, all these interesting Polish sausage burger, all these interesting people. And the annoying bit of it is that my recollections and recording of the knowledge can sometimes not be as sound or as well done as it should be. It's all intended, but
you're starting an archive of it now.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Well, you're recording your conversations now. You get them all down, and you'll be able to have more of a record of it. It's like you say. I think the reason that now we are, especially in this generation, because there's always been groups of people with ideas to share and conversations to have and stuff. We have a special access now. Probably I'm quite negative about social media normally, but one of the good things about social media is that you get like a view into people's brains. And with podcasts and things, you get a real view into like even other people that you've never met's brains, and you
some
get to experience them. Yeah, and it's like just normally meeting people, but there's this greater access to what they think and how they think and the products of their hobbies and interests. And we get that on a level with our friends because of Facebook and everything. You see what they're up to. You know, we got friends who do art and things, and you get to see their development. Yeah.
Shout out to Jordan.
Shout out Jordan. And it's conducive to what you're talking about.
That was an excellent bullshit finish. I love that so much. Just speaking through crumbs here and like eating stuff off the table. I don't even care. I don't even care.
The crackers are too good.
Not throwing at the camera. Eat little fingers.
You don't like blue cheese?
Blue cheese, man. Come on.
What's that fucking you know that Joey Diaz quote where he's like, blue cheese sauce with wings or go fuck your mother?
Coco Diaz.
Oh god, he's
excellent. I was thinking about him when we were in the supermarket last night.
Oh, yeah,
I just
got blue cheese.
No, all of a sudden when we were in the chocolate bar aisle, I just thought randomly this flurry through my head when we mentioned Joey Diaz. I immediately recalled our conversation about it that we were having even before that, and I just thought the words that he says, "Come on, Lee, let's kick this fucking mule," you know, like, and he just puts whatever song he wants on. He doesn't care. He's like, "Here come the jesters, 1, 2, 3. It's all part of my fantasy," you know, and then he just like sparks up a massive joint like a lunatic on the podcast, and drops Stars of Death with like wasn't it Lee Syatt? Is it?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember what his name is, but yeah, him and that other guy on the Joey Diaz, like the Church of What's Happening Now.
I've only watched a little bit of his actual podcast. Most of my knowledge comes from him on Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah,
or his stand up or whatever. But yeah, that is a man with some fucking stories to tell. He's like what was the word you used? A confabulation. He's an
amalgamation.
An amalgamation. He's a very fragmented person of all these different influences, but he just, you know, you see him up on
real.
When I had Twitter, I'll shut it now, but I used to be subscribed to him on Twitter, and every day he'd tweet in the morning like, "Namaste, cocksuckers! I'm out here smoking a massive blunt." And just have a fucking great day. And that was this morning, and he'd go out and be spreading the vibes, and that's his life.
And yeah, and he's just sitting there, just like, have you seen his pre-church?
No.
Oh, he does a mini like vlog series, which is his podcast YouTube videos, where it's called like pre-church, and it's just him and Lee getting really annihilated beforehand on camera. So they grab like Stars of Death, you know, the star like that they have on
like
his show.
Is it like an edible?
They have edibles,
yeah.
And he also calls he's got these other things called gorilla biscuits. And
I think he tells a story about them on something else I've seen him talking about.
I've never done, and I don't really. I don't know whether I'd ever try edible.
I haven't tried it. It's
I had a lollipop in Amsterdam, which was.
That's not the whole thing. No, you want like a cake.
It destroyed me, and I had an amazing jam. I jammed "Can't Stop" by the Chili Peppers with this bloke in the middle of a music shop, and we got quite a nice audience around us. If I don't say so myself, I mean, but it was really good. It was an honest, awesome moment between me and this other bloke, and Jack was there, and we just chilled out. And they had an original Paul McCartney era violin bass on the wall, which I had the honor of the guy very nicely let me play and whatnot, and it was so cool. Nice. But yeah, I've never done anything like that. But apparently, these Stars of Death thing, like one of the guys, Benjamin Owen Benjamin. Have you seen him? He is so funny. He's also a stand-up comedian. He's got 2 stand-up bits that are just gold. They're fantastic. Not all of us. I mean, he's very talented though. Anyway, he on that podcast though, he drops one of these Stars of Death things, and it just wrecks him. It just destroys him.
You can see his eyes like the devil.
He's and all of a sudden, through it, he's trying to explain things that he knows normally about, and his brain's just and he's getting worse and worse and worse. And eventually, he's like, "Guys, I need to go stand outside. So I just can't be here anymore." And he just leaves the podcast and goes and stands outside. Oh, it's so funny. And Joey's like I'm having another 2. Fucking.
He's eating them as well, and he's fine.
But he's as the owner will have half one or one, which is probably what the dose that he
enough
had
to sedate a horse.
If I had
probably
a quarter of what Owen Benjamin had, which would be half of that, I would probably go insane.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to handle it at all. I just don't handle anything like that. I found out over the years. I can't handle things. I like my simple things, and then I go out a certain amount, and I'm like, okay, right,
whiskey and ham.
But yeah,
none of them crazy mind altering.
Mind altering ham,
like rum ham. There's
the rum ham. He's called the rum ham. But yeah, shout out to It's Always Sunny. Oh
Danny.
God, Rob Howison, Danny DeVito, Glenn Howerton, and Rob Wells,
Rob McElhenney,
and Rob McClennery. Yeah, sorry, and Charlie Day. Oh God, what's Deandra?
Yeah.
Oh God, she's excellent. I feel so dishonored now because she's awesome. Katie, is it? No, Katie.
Is it not D something? Half of them use their real names.
Yeah.
Deandra Reynolds.
Deanne Reynolds. Yeah.
We've been influenced too much by the show.
Shut up, Philadelphia. Flip, Philadelphia. Flip. Damn, I thought you were gonna.
You got nothing.
Adelphia. Finish myself. I'll finish myself off. How about that? Huh? How about that? What are we talking about? We're having a massive tangent. Again.
Lots of things.
A lot of things.
You were on edibles.
Oh yeah, edibles. Yeah, talking about those Stars of Death things. Anyway, Owen Benjamin has one and walks out the room. Joey Coco Diaz is just able to just sit popping them, and he's so funny. He sits on an interview where he's had about 3 Stars of Death, and he's with oh God, what's the name of that very famous? The name dropping so many comedians here.
What's his another name? One from Getting Back with Her.
And then he spat in a pussy. What's his name? Oh God. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her coids and weight. Andrew Dice Clay.
Yes.
Andrew Dice Clay is on there with Joey Coco Diaz, and Joey basically doesn't really say anything. He's just sitting there, just looking out into space, and it's so funny. He's just on Neptune for most of it, and occasionally he's like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. But then he'll just come out with one really good point, and then just Tortuga shell up again, in the corner.
Yeah, well, it's a bit like that. You showed me that Action Bronson podcast yesterday. They were a bit
Action Bronson, Ancient Aliens. Oh my God, everybody needs to see that.
I couldn't believe that was a real thing.
Crazy. Yeah, so they just sit on a couch with a green screen and
The Alchemist.
Oh yeah, him and Alchemist, and they just get absolutely destroyed. And they get so destroyed that they can barely hold intelligible, fluent conversation with each other because it's
But it's
so
the
high.
editing that
And
just
the
makes
editing
it...
is incredible. Yeah.
It's just there's like him on a sofa with,
And he just,
a
like, comes
green in
out
the
like-
background, and he just pops up behind. Oh man! And then just the pure fact that it had was it Thingy Van Damme?
Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cypress Hill showed up for a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Sendog was just kept coming out from behind things and speaking, and then would disappear slowly. I love to go through editing like that. There's like part of me that really would love to learn doing things like that.
Editing. My housemate that I lived with for a while, he's a editor for YouTubers.
Oh really?
Yeah, and he's shown me a little bit. It's like long, grueling work, but it's kind of exactly what you think it is.
It's an artistic
moving the
process.
things, and like when you, it's just imagine seeing a fully edited video, taking it really slowly, breaking down the different elements of any particular movement or animation or whatever cropping that you're doing, and just going through it all very slowly. And
that's why
layering it on piece by piece. That's what editing is like. It just takes a long fucking time.
That's why we here need like a wizard. I need a wizard behind the curtain.
Oh, if you had...
we were talking about that earlier. Like,
would you release highlights clips and have like little memes thrown in on top of the?
Yeah,
like every time you stutter, play that over a couple of times. I know.
I would, but on a separate bit. I love the separation of church and state. I love my checks and balances. Any other way you can phrase that particular way of describing what's that beautiful word? It's like a bar graph thing. I'll come back to me later.
Not sure what you mean.
It's like when you're talking about how things kind of like fit together within your own head. It's like I don't know. It's quite hard to describe, really.
What sort of
help me out here?
It's a bit like mechanical thinking in a way, like where you look at a problem or a puzzle or something that needs to be done, and you're able to break it down into its sort of constituent parts, no matter what it, a process that looks complicated to an outsider, like editing or art production, and you can. Your practice to taking it all apart and putting it all back together and making it what you want it to be.
That with making and taking content out of larger bits of truer content that's live. So our content would be that we'd put out that's live for Biscotti. I wouldn't mind extrapolating small clips and bits and whatnot, and then having that as like, this is us two. I'm just gonna talk about the Greek myths, so it would just be our section of us talking about the Greek myths earlier.
And
then you'd have like that
wouldn't be so tricky because you just have to split it up into sections.
Exactly, you just crop it, and you take it, and then you put that on it, and then those bits I'd maybe put like a bit of editing. Or
I was thinking of like an edited highlight reel where it's just like quick cut, elements from just funny bits from the show.
But live is I would want that separate whole live video available with no fucking with, and it's just.
Why would you not? You'd have both.
Because I love the honesty. I love that absolute. This is the front and back. There is no editing. This is just two people off the top of their heads. They're having a conversation, and there is no funny business.
Ham in my teeth.
This is genuinely.
It's real.
Yeah, absolutely. That is real.
This is not plastic ham.
This is not plastic ham. This is real ham right here that we are eating.
Sorry, vegans.
This is a real bottle of something tasty. Yeah, and I over the past working where I work, I have more experiences with uncooked meat than I did previously. So as a result, I've kind of seen that side of the contemporary schism that is happening in the zeitgeist. That weird
schism around
sign
meat.
of this big vegetarian movement of things happening at the moment, and whole food and using nuts and oils and different things to lubricate one's bodies, and like I like sneaking my vitamins in using a piece of chicken that I actually cover in rice, and then I get rid of all the chicken so it's not as bad for the chicken. Like things like that.
I reanimate the Frankenstein corpse of the chicken once I've extracted the protein,
and then and the protein naturally comes back to life, which means that I can then harness that protein. So I'm actually eating dead chicken. I'm recycling.
We're keeping this one chicken alive for all of our meat needs. It replaced thousands and thousands of battery farm chickens, which we just slaughtered. We don't need them anymore.
Yeah. So we'd like to present to you Greg and Will's undead chicken farm. You know, and you just got loads of zombified chickens just in coops, and you're just, like,
a
harvesting
sweet,
meat
a
that they're
sweet
growing
soil and
back, and
green
they're like,
nutrient
perfectly
paste
good
coming
food.
out.
Yeah. Oh god, perfectly good for vegetarians, and they're like all
Yeah.
eating each other and stuff.
Well, there's Beyond Meat now, which is this new thing, which I think I'm right in saying is like lab grown meat. They've achieved it. And everybody's saying it's just as good. I don't know. I find it hard to argue against. Oh yeah,
I think there's two pieces, large pieces of ham in there. There we go. Do you want to take that? Oh
no.
You got the
of
you got the lion's share there.
I feel like we're doing a Christmas cracker. And
There we go.
Silence.
Have lambs. That is a quote from the Cable Guy for anybody that's seen that film, which many people slated, but I love it. I love the Cable Guy. I think it's like one of my favorite Jim Carrey films because it's like quite experimental. It's in your face. It's weird. It's uncomfortable comedy.
I've unfortunately not seen it,
and but it was done in such a way that it's uncomfortable comedy, not taken to such a degree that it's like the In-Betweeners, which is that's fantastic, brilliant. I love the In-Betweeners, but I can't sit through an episode of it because it's too cringy.
Cringe comedy is controversial for me.
It's too close to a lot of like me growing up. Is like I was that cringy weird kid.
But that's why it's funny, because you know.
It hits too close to home. I can't physically handle it.
You need a sort of in a comedy. You need like an everyman for the audience to relate to. But then when you put it in one as just skin crawling as Will from the In-Betweeners, you don't want to relate to him.
Oh, let me get that beer out of your way there, dude. Let's I'll tell you what. Let's do that. I'm gonna switch to some Wilder. I'm going to jump out the room for a few seconds. I'll tell you what. Would you mind giving like a tiny plug for your book momentarily?
Well, I can in 10 years' time. I'll put a
no, just like a. I'll tell you, we don't have to do book. I'll tell you what, just tell the wonderful people here just like a little bit about your projects that you got going on.
I will try my best.
I'll be right back as soon as possible with some ice and a little bit more love.
Let's go. All right. So I have one chapter of a book which has taken me an awfully long time to write. I don't worry too much about like deadlines and working at a particular pace, but I do run a blog which you can visit and like, share, follow, etc. on www.anxiousplanet.blog. It's a WordPress blog. It's nothing very impressive, but there I host my short stories and thoughts and musings and opinions and such for anybody who cares to listen. I'm trying to do whatever it is that writers do, maybe express my viewpoint or say something about the world, and also at the same time make an entertaining piece of content for people to enjoy. I find it hard to, I always use the word shill to talk about promoting things, but I find it hard to promote writing in a way because the people who read know why they read, and the people who don't sort of think about it. You don't spend much time thinking about why you don't read books if you don't read books. It's a bit like we were talking about the Bill Hicks routine earlier, where he's sitting in a diner in like Southern USA.
Oh, Bill Hicks.
And yeah, and he's reading a book, and the waitress comes over and goes, "What you reading for?" And the trucker stands up behind him and says, "Looks like we got ourselves a reader." So I feel like a blog or a book or anything that you want to talk about in that sense, you just have to tell people to go and look at it. So if you fancy going and look at it, it's www.anxiousplanet.blog. I'm always improving, looking for feedback. It's by no means perfect, but it's what I've got so far, and maybe you'll enjoy it. So go and check it out.
All right, so yeah.
Oh yeah, and
thanks so much. What are we drinking?
We are drinking with this incredibly impressive ice cube, which I really like. We are drinking Journey by Jura, Jura, the Scottish Whisky company from the Isle of Jura. I don't know what vintage this is. It didn't say on the bottle. You want to put more information on your bottles, Jura? It's called Journey though. It smells extraordinarily nice. It is a Scotch whisky.
I wish I put less ice in this now. I feel like I've kind of tainted it a little bit. There's also a small piece of biscuit that may have fallen into my glass.
When we were talking about having a whiskey and ham podcast, maybe we didn't even consider the option of combining the two.
But like a toast. You know, when the Romans used to put like toast in their drink.
Did they
put a little bit of? Yeah, apparently that's the reason why it's called toast.
No way.
You put a little bit of crumbled up toast within one.
That's
drink.
interesting. It's a bit like orange juice with bits.
And you clink glasses as well, so that your that is, I think, I'm probably wrong on this one. It might even be older, but I've heard it being essentially just like almost a pure like pre-medieval thing, where when you clink glasses, the liquid from each other's glasses is meant to swap over into each other. So it's kind of like
so you're not poisoning each other.
You're not poisoning each other. Oh,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there's another really interesting one as well, which is from in Powdram Castle. Is one of the. Have you ever been to Powdram Castle?
I think so. I've been to a few castles.
Great in Exeter. They have narwhals. They have a narwhal horn,
unicorn of the sea,
exactly, which is propped up against the side of the hall, and with a small shaving device for it, and it has a certain composite property where, if applied to a drink, a small pure dust from the corn, it will turn your liquid a certain color as to expose certain types of toxic poisons or whatnot.
Good Lord. Life really is a video game, isn't it? Like, go to this part of the world and get the narwhal horn in order to detect the poison.
Who in the name of Christ thought that up in a like weird like primordial soup?
Resident Evil, put the dog statue in the door to unlock it, and you make it. Oh, so many things. It's like aspirin comes from the bark of a tree. Somebody was like, "Oh, my head hurts." What have we got? Give me this bark. No. Shave it down. There we go. Oh, that's better.
Have a bit of a drink. Yeah, and it all fizzes up.
The Chinese are like, I'm not feeling very horny. Just bring me a tiger. Cut off its penis.
Cheers, by the way. Let's have a clink.
Cheers. And little exchange of poisons. It's going to end up like, the Tenacious D song, City Hall, where they poison each other at the end.
No, I can't remember that. But the moment you mentioned that, I immediately remembered the bit and Cage and I come out of the side hatch with the oils and perfumes
and incense. Now there's
who comes out the side hatch? That's me, KJ. That's the one.
Yeah. Such a good one. That's Double Team, isn't it?
Double Team.
Yeah. No, in City Hall, there's it's the one where it's like, will lead us to kings, and there is the two kings, and then it's just like he sends Cage off to investigate the potato famine in Idaho, and he's just like, there's no famine, and then he's like, I'll be king, but you can your glass, and Cage is like, but I poisoned yours as well, and then and that's the end of the song. It's so good. It's like how they're going to run the world, and then like, first we legalize marijuana. And then we'll get rid of money. Everybody will be equal. Actually, I haven't thought that one through. So good. Perfect critique of communism. Anyway,
cheers
once again.
Slancher. This is fantastic. Prost, Egeshigedra, no zdrowie. Salut.
Damn, you know more.
Oh no, sorry. My father's a very good teacher on the old toast regime as well.
Actually, I used to go around and collect them from I used to teach English to foreign students, so I had a few saved up. The Hungarian one. I've forgotten all of them now.
I think that's probably like a Nozdrovia, I think, as well. Maybe like
possibly that's the old Russian one, isn't it?
Egeshigedra, I think it may be actually.
Maybe, yeah, I do remember hearing that one. I used to know the Moroccan one, but I've completely forgotten it now. Yeah. Oh well.
We'll digress. Cheers. Yeah. This is fantastic. By the way, ladies